Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Catherine, and welcome all to our community this morning. Before we begin, a few reminders. If you're visiting us for the first time today, you are especially welcome. Wanda at the visitors table by the door can help you get oriented if you have any questions. If you have little ones, our greeters can show you the way to the nursery, which is available during the service for children ages 6 and younger. Our services are filmed and posted on YouTube. If you want to make sure that you are not on camera, please sit in the perfume-free zone or in the section closest to the back table in the library. Feel free to move during the prelude if you need to. Please silence your cell phones. Our musical prelude this morning is an original song by guest musician Roxanne McDaniel. Please sit with us and receive this musical gift.
Thank you all so much for having me this morning. This first song I'm going to do is called Shooting Star. Somebody requested that I play it. The funny thing about it, I often forget that this song even exists. I play it so infrequently. So if I mess up the lyrics, well, you probably won't know, but...
Roxanne, thank you so much for that. That was beautiful. Welcome to Holston Valley Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Catherine, and I use any pronouns that are said with love. I'm your service leader for the day, and I'm incredibly grateful to stand with the trans community in times such as these. I'm also incredibly grateful to get to serve as your service leader today because my first exposure to this congregation was many years ago during a Trans Day of Remembrance event that was held after hours. And when I needed a spiritual home, the care with which you all held the trans and queer community let me know that I was welcome here. So thank you. If you're with us on the internet, or if you're with us sitting in the chairs around me, we are one community united in our commitment to each other and our commitment to live out our principles in the world. Our Unitarian Universalist values of equity, transformation, and justice call on us to recognize, empower, and protect the trans community here and abroad. Today, we strengthen that deliberate effort by celebrating Transgender Day of Visibility. All are welcome in this intentionally inclusive space. Our call to worship today comes from Andrea Hawkins Camper. Blessed are we who gather with open hearts together in this space today. Blessed are we, the chalice lighters of resistance, justice, love, and faith. Blessed are we, the heretics, the outcasts, the walkers of our own way. Blessed are we, the border crossers, the refugees, the immigrants, the poor, the wanderers who are not lost. Blessed are we, the transgressors, the trespassers, the passers-by, the cause takers, the defiant, and the compliant. Blessed are we, the hand extenders, the sign makers, the protesters, the protectors. Blessed are we, the trans women, the trans men, the non-binary, the cisgender, the multigender, the no gender. Blessed are we, the friend, the stranger, the lonely, the hidden, the visible, and the authentic. Blessed are we who rise in solidarity. Blessed are we who cannot. Blessed are we who do not. Blessed are we, for this is our beloved community, and this is who we are. Please sit with us in quiet contemplation. We are going to invite a member of our youth to come and help us with our chalice lighting. As they light the chalice, please join me in saying our vision statement, which is printed in our bulletin. We work together as a church to transform ourselves, our community, and our world by sharing love, pursuing justice, and seeking wonder. We welcome you, old friends and new, young and old. You are an essential part of our celebration today. Whether today is your first or your 1000th Sunday with us, we are stronger because of your presence. We are one people of many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. Just as you are welcome here. Today, we're going to invite our kids, youth, and their parents, or anyone young at heart, to join us up here for our Time for All Ages, where we are going to read the story, Julian is a Mermaid. This is also the time kids can put in money for the kids' collection plate. The children voted on what cause they would like to support, and they voted to give money to alleviate hunger in the Tri-Cities. Come on down for our Time for All Ages.
Today we're reading this book, Julian is a Mermaid by Jessica Love. Look at him. That's Julian. He's our main character. Does he look like a mermaid? Maybe a little bit. This is a boy named Julian, and this is his abuela. And those are some mermaids. You see the mermaids? Julian loves mermaids. Look at him. What's he doing? You see him? He's imagining himself being a mermaid. Now he looks more like a mermaid, doesn't he? I know we can't all see, but very pretty illustrations. Vámonos, mijo. This is our stop. Abuela, did you see the mermaids? I saw them, mijo. Abuela, I am also a mermaid. I'm going to take a bath. You be good. Julian has a good idea. What's he doing? He's taking off his clothes. What's he doing? What does it look like? He's putting the plant on his head. He's taking the flowers, putting them in his hair. He's taking down the drapes. Oh. What's he doing? He's dressing up like a mermaid. Uh-oh. Look at Abuela. Does she look happy? No, Abuela does not look happy. Look at Julian's face. How do you think he feels? Sad? Why? What?
Mama's mad at him for dressing up as a mermaid.
Because Abuela's mad at him for dressing up like a mermaid. Yeah. Here comes Abuela. Come here, mijo. What's going to happen? What do you think's going to happen? If Abuela's mad at him for being a mermaid, you think he might be in trouble? Yeah? What is she doing? Does she look angry now?
No.
No, what is she giving him?
It's a necklace?
It's a necklace. For me, Abuela? For you, Julian. Where are we going? You'll see, says Abuela. Where do you think they're going? To the beach? Maybe the beach? Mermaids, whispers Julian. Like you, mijo. Let's join them. Where are they going? It's a parade. It's a mermaid parade. Do you think Julian is scared of Abuela now? Do you think Abuela's mad? Oh no. And they do. They join the mermaids. How do you think Julian felt at the beginning or in the middle when Abuela found him dressing up like a mermaid with the plant in his hair? He was scared because he thought that he was going to get in trouble from Abuela. But was Abuela mad at him for being a mermaid? No. What did she do? She leans in. She helps him find more mermaids. And Julian is a mermaid. You think he was still sad, or do you think he was happy at that point? Very happy. Well, thank you all for joining me. I hope that we can all be a little bit more like Abuela and accepting and supportive of people, just like she did with Julian. You can go back to your seat.
What a beautiful story. I wish I could have seen the pictures. Just as story speaks to us, a part of us that nonfiction usually can't reach in the same way. Music speaks to a part of us deeper than words. Today's musical offering is titled Renters Revolt, also performed by Roxanne McDaniel.
I wrote this song whenever I was very angry, which is pretty much on par for me. I kept seeing people being pushed out of their communities and out of their homes. And there are times that I don't really recognize the community around me anymore because things have changed so much. And this song is sort of a frustration, or an expression of that frustration. It's called Renters Revolt. See what you do. I'm down to my last penny. It's all thanks to you. Landlord, forgive me if the money is late. Our pockets all are empty. There's no food upon the plate. You priced me out of the city, then you priced me out of the town. When I'm dead and buried, price me out of the ground. In the summer it gets hot, in the winter it gets cold. What we need right here and now is a renters revolt. I said a renters revolt. On what used to be our street, they turn them into vacation homes and rental properties. They tell us that it's progress, we all know it's not. You can't run and hide or be gentrified, and that's all the choice we've got. You priced me out of the city, then you priced me out of the town. When I'm dead and buried, you'll price me out of the ground. In the summer it gets hot, in the winter it gets cold. What we need right here and now is a renters revolt. I said a renters revolt. Booming, so is room and board. Our lives are all improving in ways we can't afford. If I make $1, you take me for 10, and I'll try to get by and by till the landlord comes again. You price me out of the city, then you price me out of the town. When I'm dead and buried, you'll price me out of the ground. In the summer it gets hot, in the winter it gets cold. What we need right here and now is a renters revolt. I said a renters revolt. Thank y'all.
Laverne Cox once said, "It is revolutionary for any trans person to choose to be seen and be visible in a world that tells us that we should not exist." Our reading today comes to us from Quinn Gormley. Quinn writes, I locked myself out of my car recently. I called a garage and they sent a technician. Apparently, he tried to call me on the way over and I missed it. He left a voicemail, which meant that he heard my message. Hello, you've reached Quinn at the Maine Transgender Network. My trans status isn't a secret. Being public about it is part of my job, but being public and being out to random men on the side of a quiet rural road are very different things. He arrived and we wrestled back into my Subaru. After handing over my insurance card, he got quiet for a minute. Nervously, he asked, "You do the rainbow thing?" It took me a second to put the pieces together. I froze for a moment. The question doesn't usually end well. Tentatively, I answered, "Yeah, I do the rainbow thing. Is that a problem?" He shook his head and he took a deep breath and then he started to talk. His kid came out a few nights ago and wants to transition. He's very worried. He watches the news. He knows how trans kids are treated. I do too. I was a trans kid. I released the breath I'd been holding. This was a conversation I know I had to have, and a conversation I know how to have. We talked for a while about how cruel the world is, about how his kid might very well get hurt. Lots do. He's afraid to let them transition. But then we talked about how we can't control the world. His kid is different and might get hurt either way. So why not let them control what happens and what happiness they can? You can teach them how to handle the rest. We talked about how happy kids are safer kids because happy kids have adults they can ask for help. A hug, a trading of numbers, and a few tissues later, and he was on his way to the store to buy his son a clip-on tie and those Spider-Man shoes he didn't give him for his birthday. Sometimes the story does end well. Beloved community, help us to create a world worthy of children's smiles and laughter. Help us to delight in all the ways we are beautifully different.
We are all beautifully different. Come to this community with all that you are. Your joys and your concerns are welcome here. We share our moments of joys and sorrows with us through using these candle cards, if you are here with us in person, or by emailing Reverend Tiffany at minister@hveuc.org with the words candle card in the subject line. Please make sure to indicate whether or not you would like the card read aloud in the service, which is being broadcast publicly on YouTube. We have a card of joy today from Nancy. She writes, my favorite men's figure skater, Jason Brown, got the 4th place score for the men's free skate, even though he cannot do quads. He finished 8th overall at the 2025 World Championship. He is the most graceful person in ice skating. Thank you for sharing that news with us. That's fantastic. I don't know anything about skating, but that all sounds amazing. And then we have also a candle of joy from Beth. A candle of joy and blessings on the journey for all our friends who are heading to Ireland this week. Safe travels. If you wish to light your own silent candle, approach the side of the table that is closest to you, and the closer candle keeper will assist you. Please light the candles at the back of the table first so that nobody has to reach over an open flame. If you wish for us to light a candle for you, please raise your hand until I acknowledge you, and I will ensure a candle is lit for your intention. Our community is so much larger than just those of us who are in the building this morning, so we light a candle to hold space for those who are not physically present with us, but are ever in our hearts. light a final candle for all that remains unspoken in our hearts and our minds. Please join us for our meditative hymn, number 123, Spirit of Life.
Jazz Jennings is the 24-year-old star of the TLC documentary, I Am Jazz. She sets the tone perfectly for this service with what she wrote as the foreword for a book titled Authentic Selves, celebrating trans and non-binary people and their families. We'll open with her experience. In the early 2000s, when we began our journey as a very young trans child and her family, we felt so alone and isolated. There were no books about transgender or non-binary kids, almost no resources, and barely any positive representation in the media. It was like we had no echo. Our first chance to be a part of our community, a place where we might be able to be ourselves and connect with others who mirrored our experience, was a family picnic hosted by a local LGBTQ center. Unfortunately, there were no other transgender kids at the event. All the kids were cisgender children of same-sex couples. We felt so out of place, so disappointed. We just wanted to belong somewhere, anywhere. Those early years were tough. Our family was on a long journey with no map, no compass, no captain, and no one to guide us. Then the discrimination began. Bathrooms became inaccessible, bullying surfaced, and the silence continued. It's a long story, but the producers of the popular ABC television news show 2020 heard about our family and the fact that we had a 5-year-old transgender daughter. They presented our family with the ability to share our story publicly. We resisted. We were asked again and again, but the idea of putting ourselves out there on national television to expose a reality that was unknown but frowned upon by so many was terrifying. About a year after contemplating with appearing on 2020, our entire family participated because we wanted to show the importance of love and support for a transgender child. In our heart of hearts, we know we made the right choice so many years ago. The world needs to know that trans children like me exist and are special and beautiful. Most importantly, we wanted other families like ours to know they were not alone. From that moment forward, a tidal wave of families with young trans kids came forward. It reminded us of a scene from The Wizard of Oz when the Munchkins felt safe enough to abandon their hiding places and reveal themselves. We learned about the immense power of visibility. To us, visibility provides knowledge, and without both visibility and knowledge, we can't expect the world to change.
Thank you for joining us at HVUUC today to celebrate Trans Day of Visibility. It's no secret that transgender people exist, like myself and Wendy. Most of you have likely heard of historical figures such as Marsha P. Johnson, Sylvia Rivera, or Christine Jorgensen, and everyone knows about modern day celebrities like Caitlyn Jenner, Elliot Page, or Laverne Cox. We've also frequently cited poems and prayers here at our church by UU ministers like Juniper Meadows and Sean Parker Dennison. But we wanted to take some time today on this Day of Visibility to specifically recognize and uplift several of the lesser known trans, non-binary, and otherwise genderqueer folks that have graced this world with their presence throughout history. Perhaps you've heard of some of these before. If so, that's awesome. This will just be a refresher. But if you haven't heard of some of these people, we encourage you to check them out, take the time to look them up, and further explore their contributions to our society. Tony Ebel, born in 1881, Lily Elvenis, born in 1882, Charlotte Charlock, born in 1892, and Dora Richter, also born in 1892, were a few very prominent patients and workers at Magnus Hirschfeld's Institute for Sexual Science in Germany. They are known to be among the first transgender people in history to receive gender-affirming health care and fully medically transition. Tony and Lily were painters, Charlotte was an actress, and Dora was a baker. Hirschfeld's work on gender and sexuality was destroyed by the Nazis in one of the first book burnings in Nazi Germany. But their testimonies and interviews with other medical practitioners preserved much of what they experienced under his care and enabled the study of transgender people to eventually continue and progress.
Born in 1886, Lucy Hicks Anderson was one of the earliest fighters for marriage equality in the United States. She grew up in Kentucky, where she started presenting as a girl and going by the name of Lucy at an early age. She later moved to Texas, then to New Mexico, where she married Clarence Hicks, then moved to California, where she lived in Oxnard and operated a brothel. After divorcing Hicks in 1929, she married Reuben Anderson, a soldier, in 1944. Her signing of this marriage license led to a perjury charge against her, as on it she swore that there were no legal objections to the marriage. She told reporters, "I defy any doctor in the world to prove that I am not a woman. I have lived, dressed, and acted just what I am, a woman."
Armelio Robles Avila was in Guerrero in 1889, assigned he female at birth. At the age of 24, he began living openly as a man for the rest of his life. He commanded forces of around 300 men with the Zapatista army in the Mexican Revolution, and he was highly decorated as a Colonel Robles by the Mexican government for his contributions. According to a former neighbor, if anyone called him a woman or she or miss, he would threaten them with his pistol. Might want to bring that one back. He has often been misgendered by modern historians and organizations who celebrate the Zapatistas, but he remains the first transgender Mexican officially recognized by his true gender, and his family still uphold his legacy to this day.
Born in 1912, Virginia Prince was an early American transgender activist. She held a PhD in pharmacology and wrote extensively about homosexuality and what at the time was called transvestism or transsexualism. She later coined the term transgender in her magazine Transvestia, which used largely reader-submitted stories to raise awareness of trans people and cross-dressers. The three stated goals of the publication were to provide expression for those interested in unusual fashion, provide information to those who, through ignorance, condemn that which they don't understand, and provide education for those who see evil where none exists.
Louise Lawrence was another early American transgender activist who was born in 1912 as well. And she was also a co-founder of Transvestia. She's a member of the gay rights organization, the Mattachine Society, and worked closely with doctors like Carl Bowman, Harry Benjamin, and Alfred Kinsey to advance academia on topics of trans and gay people, as well as lecture at their organizations to raise awareness in the medical community. One of the leading scholars today on the queer studies and history, Dr. Susan Stryker, once wrote, "If there is an unheralded founder of the transgender community in the United States, it's Louise Lawrence."
Born in 1914, Billy Tipton was a prominent jazz pianist. He played at clubs in Missouri and Texas before touring bigger venues in the Pacific Northwest. It was in Washington in the 50s that he formed his own jazz trio and recorded 2 widely successful albums. The Billy Tipton Trio was offered a job as the house band at the Holiday Hotel in Reno, as well as a touring gig to be a regular opener for Liberace. But Billy declined both offers, preferring to stay in Washington and become a talent broker, as his declining health forced him to perform increasingly less. He lived fully presenting as a man for so long and was accepted by such as so many people that it came as a shock to tabloids that, upon his death, paramedics discovered he had been assigned female at birth.
Michael Dillon was a British doctor born in 1915. He studied theology at Oxford University, began learning medicine as a lab assistant in Stapleton, Bristol, and eventually did research on sexuality and hormones at Trinity College, Dublin, as well as performed relevant medical operations. During this era of his life, he got a double mastectomy and later got the first ever phalloplasty in the UK. He worked for some time as a doctor for the Merchant Navy, but when he was outed in the press, he quit that job and moved to a Buddhist monastery in India, where he lived out the rest of his life as a monk and an author on Buddhist theology.
Born in 1917, Reed Erickson was an American transgender man and philanthropist that, according to sociology specialist Aaron H. DeVore, largely informed almost every aspect of work being done in the 1960s and 1970s in the field of gender affirmation in the U.S. and, to a lesser degree, in other countries. He ran the Erickson Educational Foundation, whose goals were to provide assistance and support in areas where human potential was limited by adverse physical, mental, or social conditions, or where the scope of research was too new, controversial, or imaginative to receive traditionally oriented support. Through the EEF, Erickson contributed millions of dollars to the early development of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer communities between 1964 and 1984. In addition to philanthropy, the EEF functioned as an information and counseling resource for transgender people, created a referral network of physicians and psychologists, published educational pamphlets for transgender people and their families, and conducted outreach to medical professionals, clergy, law enforcement personnel, and academics.
Also born in 1917, Peter Alexander was a Kiwi musician from New Zealand. He hated girls' clothes as a child and loved playing sports with the boys his age. He went to Sydney, Australia in 1936 to begin gender-affirming treatment. While there, he met a woman who accepted him for his true self, and they fell in love. He soon moved to England to marry her, despite his mother begging him not to. His mother printed an ad in the papers trying to persuade her daughter to come home in what the paper referred to as a pathetic appeal. He gave many interviews throughout the late 30s, suggesting he wanted to disappear to where no one knew him and live in quiet peace with his wife. It seems like he did so, since we have little information about him after that point.
Roberta Cowell was a trans race car driver born in London in 1918. She served as pilot in the Royal Air Force during World War II, where she spent some time as a POW in a POW camp after being captured by German forces. After the war, she began self-medicating with hormones, and she eventually met the aforementioned Dr. Michael Dillon. Cowell and Dillon became close friends, and he later agreed to perform an orchiectomy for her, which was illegal at that time. Later, she found a gynecologist that was willing to issue her a new birth certificate, and the same surgeon who performed Dillon's phalloplasty gave her a vaginoplasty, making her the first British transgender woman to fully medically transition. She remained active in racing for years despite disapproval from many people in the community after she was outed in the press.
Coccinelle, the French word for ladybug, was the professional name of Jacqueline Charlotte Dufresnoy, a French actress, entertainer, singer, and activist, and one of the first people to undergo widely publicized successful gender confirmation surgery in Europe. Born in Paris in 1931, Dufresnoy began taking hormones in 1952 and made her debut as a showgirl the next year. She quickly became popular and soon joined other famous trans showgirls April Ashley, Marie-Pierre Prouveau, and Amanda Lear as a regular at the Le Carrousel de Paris nightclub. She became so popular that she was featured in several films, had an Italian singer, Guido Accosti, dedicate a song to her, and starred in her own review, Cherchez la Femme. After she underwent her operation, France changed its laws to allow for changes to be made on birth certificates following gender confirmation surgery. Her first marriage also established trans people's right to marry in France. She also founded the trans support group Devenir Femme and helped establish the Center for Aid, Research, and Information for Transsexuality and Gender Identity.
Born in 1939, Wendy Carlos is an American musician and composer specializing in electronic music and film scores. She studied physics and music at Brown University and composition at Columbia University. She helped develop the world-famous Moog synthesizer, the first commercially available electronic keyboard. She has written several albums of experimental or ambient style music, including one called Switched on Bach, an album of music by Johann Sebastian Bach performed on a Moog synthesizer, which helped popularize its use in the 1970s and won her 3 Grammy Awards. She also composed the scores for the movies A Clockwork Orange, The Shining, and Tron.
Beverly Glenn Copeland is an American-Canadian singer-songwriter, and his album Keyboard Fantasies was named one of the 70 best recordings by women before his transition was public. He was also a writer on Sesame Street and a regular actor on the Canadian children's TV show Mr. Dressup.
Born in Winnipeg in 1950, Charlotte Nolan was taken from her birth family as part of the 60s Scoop. Assigned male at birth, she was shuffled between foster homes in southern Manitoba and was abused both at home and at day school. Charlotte ultimately escaped the foster system in her late teens. Turning to sex work and dealing drugs to survive, she moved back and forth between Winnipeg and Vancouver and spent stints in jail in both cities. Understanding that she was trans from a young age, Charlotte lived as a woman for brief periods when it was not too dangerous. She first heard the term Two-Spirit at a sweat lodge ceremony in British Columbia in 1990. And something truly clicked in her self-understanding. Charlotte described identifying with the term and its spiritual impact on her. For me, that's walking in balance. You have both that male and female spirit.
Lou Sullivan was born in 1951 and was an American author and activist known for his work on behalf of trans men. He was perhaps the first transgender man to publicly identify as gay and is largely responsible for the modern understanding of sexual orientation and gender identity as distinct, unrelated concepts. Sullivan was a pioneer of the grassroots female-to-male advocacy movement and was instrumental in helping individuals obtain peer support, counseling, endocrinological services, and reconstructive surgery outside of gender dysphoria clinics. He founded FTM International, one of the first organizations specifically for FTM, or female-to-male individuals, and his activism and community work as a significant contributor to the rapid growth of the FTM community during the late 80s.
Born in 1991, Leo Baker is a pro skateboarder from California. He is non-binary and uses he, they pronouns. He has won 3 medals at the X Games and also worked in graphic design. He produced a zine featuring queer artists to donate proceeds to the Trevor Project, and he was featured in a documentary called Stay on Board, detailing his life and struggles as a trans person in sports.
This is just a short list, relatively speaking. It's incomplete and incomprehensive because if we dared to outline every accomplishment of every transgender person all throughout time, we would still be here listing people and all the things that they did until next year's Trans Day Visibility. But just the fact that a list like this exists, stretching this far back in time and reaching all over the globe, that is proof that we have always been here. We all weave our own threads in the great web of life, and life as we know it would be very different if certain trans people, it would be very different if certain weavers weren't doing their part. People you didn't know were trans people that the history books forgot to write about, forgot. The accomplishments that have been deliberately ignored. Don't take for granted the many contributions of those who fly under the radar because they are different from you. As we said to begin with, it's no secret that trans people exist. But even worse, there are unfortunately some ill-hearted folks who think they can debate whether we exist or actively try to stop us from existing. Examining a chronology like this reminds us we have always been here, and we insist that we are not going anywhere anytime soon.
For our chalice extinguishing, I want to read a poem I wrote in November, and I call it The Trans Agenda. I dreamed once that I lived, that my well-being was of more concern than the price of eggs, that I existed without anxiety about being erased in a desperate attempt to hold on to an illusion, that the grifters, rapists, and killers concerned people more than who tried out for the high school track team, that they didn't feel the need to install locks on the bathroom door to protect other women from big scary me, that I didn't have to worry if my papers and my face were in proper order, that the red, white, and blue fist didn't threaten the rainbow smile, that 4 in 10 of my people didn't feel they'd be better off dead, and that the murder rate would go down and not up. A girl can dream, can't she?
Thank you, everybody, for being here today. And thank you, everybody who has read and written and played music for us today, and for everybody who showed up and witnessed this. If you have been smelling something from back there, a wonderful smell from back there. You may have already suspected that immediately after our service is our Youth Bake Sale fundraiser. So the Youth RE is going to be selling a variety of delicious baked goods during coffee hour. They decided to work on raising money to fight hunger in our region, and that is what they're selling baked goods to support. There will also be a social justice committee meeting following the service beginning at 12:30 in the res. Next Sunday, April 5th, CUPS will be having a very special celebration to celebrate the frivolity and whimsy of the April Fool's tradition. There will be a ritual to honor the lighter and joyous side of paganism at 6 p.m., followed by a potluck. All are welcome, but please bring some food to share. These are only a couple of our many upcoming events. You can learn more about the many opportunities for fellowship, justice work, and working together by visiting our website, hvuc.org, and checking out our news and events sections. Today is the 5th Sunday at March, which are very special Sundays here at HVUC. Anytime we have a 5th Sunday, our Social Justice Committee partners with a local cause, and all money collected during the offering goes to that instead of to the church. Today we have some very special guests from the Johnson City Recovery Center, a local recovery community organization. Addiction has disproportionately affected the trans and queer community for many years, and I'd like to invite Dottie Green up here to tell us a little bit more about the services that JCRC provides in our community.
Good morning. And thank you so much for inviting us to share our nonprofit with you. And the first thing I have to say is that it is so comforting to be in such an affirming space. And thank you, thank you, thank you. As Catherine said, I'm Dottie Saxon Green. I am the founder and executive director of Johnson City Recovery Center, the first recovery community center in the Tri-Cities. And
good morning, everybody. My name is Stanley Williams, and I am the lead certified peer recovery specialist at the Johnson City Recovery Center also.
Thank you, Stanley. And maybe the most important thing to know is that all of us at JCRC, which is much easier to say than Johnson City Recovery Center, are people with lived experience with addiction and recovery. From me to our peer support specialists, to all of our board members, and to our volunteers. We're all people with lived experience with addiction and recovery. So what is a recovery community center? So most of you probably, have an idea of what a community center is, and that's what we are for people in or seeking recovery from addiction. And I think everybody in our country and probably around the world is well aware of the addiction crisis and opioid epidemic in our communities. And we have been losing about 100,000 people, give or take, a year to fatal drug overdoses. Thank goodness, last year's preliminary data shows that in Tennessee that we're down about 19%. Yes, first time in well over a decade that we have seen overdose deaths decrease. So why is this happening? Because of new innovative strategies to treat addiction and to provide opioid reversal medications widely. So one of the innovative strategies that we're using are recovery community centers, and we are what's called the kind of the new kid on the block in the recovery ecosystem. Although some of the ideas aren't so new, as a professional member of the recovery ecosystem, we are new. We've borrowed some of the principles. For example, one, alcoholic helping another from AA, the peer-based support, and recovery-related resources. So folks have a much better chance at recovery if we help to build recovery capital. Recovery capital are all those internal and external resources that help to support recovery. So let me tell you a little bit about how we fit in what we do. So we are like the Unitarian Universalist community. We are an intentionally inclusive organization. We support all people and all paths to recovery. That is what we are built on. We also believe that people with lived experience with addiction and recovery are the foundation of our community. Finally, we believe that there are multiple paths to recovery, that the traditional one-size-fits-all 12-step model, which we love, and it saved my life, is not the only path. There are multiple paths to recovery. And so I like to think about JCRC as a recovery hub offering a smorgasbord or a recovery buffet for people. You can have a little bit of everything, or you can choose one path and stick with that. Whatever works for you is what we support. So we are built on this idea of inclusivity, safe, non-judgment, affirming support and services, and on top of that, or within that, we offer recovery resource navigation. We help folks connect to any resources in the community that might support their recovery. We offer recovery coaching if folks would like more individual one-on-one support. We have a computer lab so folks can job search and check their emails, set up a Google account. We have telephone recovery support. We'll call folks and do recovery check-ins. We provide limited transportation to help folks get to recovery resources in the community that they may need. What am I forgetting? Oh, maybe most important, if you look at our calendar, we have well over 20 events a week for different kinds of recovery groups. We have a finance fundamentals class that folks can attend to help them budget. If their credit is problematic, they can meet with our recovery coach, who is also a person with lived experience with addiction and recovery, to help them navigate some of those barriers. Check out our website. We have so much, I can't even spew it all out. Once a month, we do a recovery social event that kind of doubles as a fundraiser, game night. It's our biggest hit, probably, of the month. We're open Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. All of our services are free. Nobody pays a dime. We are totally funded by donations, fundraising, and we got a large grant from Washington County in 2022 to help us develop our program and operate. So now, what else did I forget that's really important? We only have like a minute left. And we're loads of fun. Did I say that? Really important. We do, thank you. We have a table in the coffee room. We can tell you more about who we are and what we do, and we have lots of flyers for some of our groups and events. And just thank you so very much for having us. Thank you. And thank you for what you do.
Thank you so much for that introduction to the valuable work that JCRC does in our community. We're going to go ahead and pass the offering plate as Roxanne offers one final song titled "What About Jesus?" If you're making a contribution to the Johnson City Recovery Center for our Fifth Sunday collection, there should be an envelope in your bulletin. If you are putting cash in that envelope, that's absolutely fine. We'll know what you intend to do with that. If you are writing a check, please make it out to HVUC. We will consolidate all of those checks and write one big check to to JCRC for that purpose. Thank you so much for your contributions. Thank you for being with us today. Please stick around after the service for the bake sale and to go talk to Dottie and Stanley about what they do, and sit with us as we receive this final musical gift.
I just want to say thank you all again for having me today for this service. My apologies that my musical selections aren't a bit more on theme for today. And also forgive me if I run over just a moment. I really haven't properly introduced myself just yet. I have sort of a difficult history with church. I grew up in a Southern Baptist church, and they're not always very welcoming of trans women. And early in my transition, I was excommunicated. And at the time, I thought it was funny. As times went on, I realized how much it really hurt me at the time. And I see a lot of people these days doing the most terrible acts of cruelty to one another in the name of God. So I wrote this song as a response to that, and it's titled, What About Jesus? There's a sickness in this world. Tell me, can you see it? Love don't cost anything, but we refuse to free it. The blind lead the blind in circles of oppression. It begs the question on my mind. What about love your neighbor? Do good to one another. What about don't let the sun go down on your anger? What about feed the poor? What about welcome the foreigner? What about peace? What about trust? What about Jesus? Some say they are those who God chose and throw stones and call it righteous. We're living lies, believing we're wise, while foolish pride divides us. Don't let it be your fate to let your hate define you. Find the time to ask yourself, what about love your neighbor? Do good to one another. What about don't let the sun go down on your anger? What about feed the poor? What about welcome the foreigner? What about peace? What about trust? What about Jesus? God knows that we all share the blame, but there's a name we can rely on. Love's gonna rise above the shouts. Leave all your doubts and sing it out. Sing it out. What about love your neighbor? Do good to one another. What about don't let the sun go down on your anger? What about feed the poor? What about welcome the foreigner? What about peace? What about trust? What about Jesus? What about Jesus? What about Jesus? What about him? Thank y'all.
As you leave, I offer this benediction, a prayer of belonging from non-binary minister Lee Kinvey. May we breathe into a moment of gentling. May we whisper to each other of belonging, of I belong, and you belong, and we belong just as we are. Amen.
There's a sickness in this world. Tell me, can you see it? Love don't cost anything, but we refuse to free it. The blind lead the blind in circles of oppression. It begs the question on my mind, what about